G'day, guys. Welcome to another episode of Keats Pod. This one here is quite Star Wars themed. I haven't done one yet. I've got my cousin Brendan with me again. How are you, Brendan?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me.
That's really, really good, mate. So, we're both fans of the sci-fi. We're fans of the Star Wars. Um, so, funny story here, guys. So, Brendan, I actually planned on shouting at Brendan a ticket to come watch it with me so we could do a review pod. Uh, Brendan loves Star Wars. He actually saw it before I did, and I arranged a ticket for him, but he was unwell and bailed. But that's all right. At the end of the day, we've both seen the film, which is the Mandalorian and Grogu film, and this podcast episode, we're going to speak about it, guys. So, what we'll do, Brendan, mate, we'll start off, mate. Did you like the film?
Um, it was okay. It was okay. I didn't love it, but it's still good to get a bit of a Star Wars fix. I think it would have been better if it had been just another season of Mandalorian and Grogu rather than a movie.
So you've watched the TV series of Mandalorian and Grogu?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What
So
did
they've
you
got
think?
three seasons so far.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just thinking, like, I reckon the season with Moff Gideon and the Dark Troopers and Boba Fett would have been better as a movie, and this one
Mm.
probably would have been better as a TV series. So I don't think they quite got it right. I reckon there was a lot of fan service. The plot was a little bit simplistic. Um, and yeah, like we've spoken about previously, it's sort of just like John Wick for Star Wars, and that Mando just goes from killing monsters to monsters without any real depth to the story.
Yeah, and Grogu's just cute throughout the film.
Yeah, Grogu just does cheap things. I mean, Boba's son is very likable, and then he strikes a bond with Grogu. Sorry, Jabba's son. Sorry,
Hmm.
the Hutt, and then he strikes a bond with Grogu. And then they bring back those the little aliens that were cute
They're
in
funny.
the Star Wars Episode 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought it was just a bit of fan service and
Yeah.
there's just a bit of filler really. I didn't think it was great.
Just the Mandalorian, because the TV series, I did a bit of research, and the first two seasons had critical acclaim. So Rotten Tomatoes, who review a lot of TV series and movies, they praised it, and a lot of other people praised it. And they're saying season three wasn't as good. Do you agree that the first two seasons of the Mandalorian TV series was better than the third one?
I can't quite remember. Let me have a look at what happened in those seasons and then come
Yeah.
back to me, mate.
All right. What I'll do, Brendan, while you're doing that, mate, I've just got some dot points here on what I liked about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So some of the things I liked, there was some good action scenes, guys. Kind of like watching a John Wick Star Wars movie, as Brendan just mentioned. I thought Pedro Pascal acted well playing the Mandalorian. His accent really suits the Mandalorian character. The different environments shown in the film are quite unique. So the movie starts where the Mandalorian's in a mission and he's in the snow. Then he goes to like a future looking city. And then near the end, he's at a swamp, jungle swamp environment. So that's where the huts lived, which we'll speak about later in this pod. Um, the monsters had good CGI effect, especially there's a fight where the Mandalorian has to fight a large dragon snake, which is in ground water pit where the huts reside. So also you do see in this movie, which we'll speak about later, there's like a gladiator ring, and multiple different monsters come out and fight in that. So the CGI effects are really good in that. One thing I like seeing the huts return to a Star Wars movie since the Return of the Jedi movie. So Brendan, the Return of the Jedi is actually the first Star Wars movie I've ever seen. Just a bit of history. Just growing up, remember when you could buy a blank videotape from the supermarket, and when there was a movie on TV, you could record it? You
Yeah,
remember
yep.
those days?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we did that with the Star Wars movies, and Return of the Jedi was the first one I saw. And yeah, we recorded it when it was on TV. That was the good old days. Um, so yeah, that movie was. released in 1983, and it's still a masterpiece of a movie till this day. But yeah, good to see the Huts back. Grogu and Mandalorian, they form a pretty good duo. Two characters who many would um, they think it's like an unlikely duo. You couldn't have those two together, but they do make it work in this movie. Yeah, and I had fun. It's basically a side mission that you see with the Mandalorian and Grogu, and yeah, look, it's not going to be a movie that's going to win Academy Awards or anything like that, but yeah, it's a bit of a popcorn flick, and the Star Wars fans they'll go see it. The harsh raters might not like it as much, and I'll get to that. What I didn't like about the film, but yeah, Brendan, mate, so did you dig up what you wanted to speak about?
Yeah, I do remember season two now. It was all about like the rebirth of Mandalore and Bo-Katan, and yeah, I agree. Like I said, season two was the best when they brought back Boba Fett and they had the Dark Troopers, and then Luke Skywalker turns up at the end of that season. That would have been good as a movie.
Mm,
So the twins, as you're saying, the twins are Jabba the Hutt's siblings. And
hmm
they're in the Book of Boba Fett. So they were in the Book of Boba Fett, and then in this one they want Jabba the Hutt's son's dead because he's the heir to the Hutt throne. So then Mando is he's contracted by the New Rebellion, and then
hmm
he's sent to hunt down Jabba's son, but he turns out to be a good guy.
mm,
And then the twins send another bounty hunter called Embo, I think, to
I remember.
to hunt them down and then bring them back to the twins. And then there's
Mm,
the final battle with the monsters, like you were just saying, with the pit.
mm.
So
Yeah.
um,
In
yeah,
terms of things that you didn't like about the film, mate, is there anything off the top of your head?
um, like I said, I just didn't think that the plot was that clever. It just didn't think it had substance for a Star Wars movie. I was reading online that they wanted to bring in it's predominantly about aliens. There's not so many human characters other than Mando in the story, and apparently that's
Mm,
been a criticism of Star Wars in the past. So I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, it was like you said, it was sort of just a good popcorn flick. It's not something that I would go back to. Not like Rogue One, where Rogue One was brilliant. It's not something I'll go back to and watch, regularly every year or so.
mm. Fair enough, mate. Yeah, so it sounds like because the TV series has done so well, especially season one and two, that's obviously why in-house they decided to make a Mandalorian movie. They thought it was going to do well, I guess, Brendan. But we'll get to a bit later. We'll get to the performance of how the movie currently is in the box office. Just some of the things that I didn't like about the film, mate. I'll elaborate on that now. Yeah, so I agree. The film wasn't story strong with the writing. There wasn't too much with the plot of this film. There was no backstory of the Mandalorian. It would have been a better film with some character development of the Mandalorian because, like, someone like myself, I haven't watched the TV series. So if they just had a little bit of backstory with the Mandalorian, I don't know, flashback scenes, or you see him speak to another character that he grew up with, or something like that. Yeah, a bit of backstory for people that don't know too much about the Mandalorian would have made this a more interesting and a movie that was written better. It doesn't
That
show.
that that is that is this is a continuation of season three though, so that is
Oh, I didn't
covered.
know that.
Yeah, that is covered in season one and two, the backstory of Mando.
Oh, okay, it's just really good for the people that haven't watched the TV series. Just just a little bit of it could be like a recap video, or you see him speak to someone that he grew up with, or another Mandalorian as well, or But yeah, because I haven't watched the TV series, I would have liked a bit of backstory in the movie. Yeah, just a bit more that it didn't show how Grogu and the Mandalorian first meet each other. I know the TV series does, but if the movie had a bit of a flashback, just showing how they met each other would have been um, more interesting for someone like myself, Brendan, who hasn't watched the TV series. So that's just one negative. Um, yeah, or how they became a team duo. It would have been good to see for the people like myself who don't watch the TV series, like a short memory recap scene in the movie. There's no Jedi's, Sith Lords, or lightsaber fights in this film. The lightsaber fights are arguably the most iconic parts of the Star Wars films. Look, I know that if the Mandalorian came up against a Sith Lord or a Jedi in real life, he'd get romped. But they with some good writing, you could have had it where the Mandalorian went out with a Jedi, or um, the Mandalorian had to fight a Sith Lord, and he was getting his butt whipped. Then all of a sudden, he outwitted the Sith Lord and killed him a certain way. Just the lightsabers and the Jedi's and the Sith Lords. They're a very unique part of Star Wars, and they keep things interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because you're sort of explaining season one and season two. So go back and watch them. I'd recommend
Yeah, I need to do it.
because there is the main antagonist Moff Gideon, the same character that played Gus Fring in Breaking Bad.
Hmm.
He's the main character, and he has a dark saber, and Luke is in the end of season two. So yeah, all of those things are explained if you do go back and watch. It's a bit like Marvel, the Marvel universe, and that the TV series and the movies and stuff. It's all a continuation. They don't really stop to give you the backstory. You sort of got to um, fill in those blanks yourself.
Mm. I'm gonna have to do that, mate. So what I've got here, Brennan, feel free to chime in, but what I've got here, I've just got the story briefly explained. So I don't want to spoil the shit out of it for people. So when I speak about it and Brendan chimes in as well, we'll keep it pretty spoiler free. We'll talk about a few of the scenes and a few of the characters. We won't delve real heavy in the story, and we're not going to speak about how this movie ends either. So I know this movie's still in cinemas, and I know that people are going to watch it. And if they listen to this pod, they don't want to know everything about the film before they see it. But I'll keep it pretty brief. I've got dot points here, and Brendan's going to chime in as well. But yeah, so long story short, the Mandalorian. I didn't know too much about him, but he's working with the New Republican, which is the rebels. And I didn't know if he was a good guy or bad guy, but after watching this film, Brendan, he comes across as a good guy now, working with the rebels. Um, and he's given a mission to either capture or kill people who are working with the Imperials. So you see this at the start and throughout the film. And there's this one particular mission, it's the main mission, really, where he's given a mission, and the rebels have arranged it with the Hutts. There's a couple of Hutts, and they want the Jabba the Hutt's son to be captured and brought to them. And the rebels wanted Mandalorian to do this because then they were going to get information. The Hutts were going to give up information on someone who's working with the Imperials, and you find all that out throughout the film. Yeah, so then what's happened is the Mandalorian, as the movie goes on, he actually ends up captured by another mercenary, and yeah, so what's happened is, long story short, you can say the Mandalorian doesn't cooperate with these two Hutts that have ordered him to go capture this other Hutt. I won't explain why, and there's ends up a bounty on the Mandalorian, and yeah, so he does get captured, and eventually he finds himself. He actually has to fight multiple monsters in the scene as well, guys. So yeah, and he ends up in this pit, and he's got this gigantic freaking dragon-looking snake, and the Mandalorian's doing the best he can against this big freaking thing, and he does get bitten. And I won't explain what happens when he gets bitten, but things end up pear shaped for him. And his little mate Grogu, he actually helps out the Mandalorian at this crucial time. And I won't explain why, but the Grogu, he typically helps his buddy out in this part of the film, and it's good to see. And then yeah, you see Brent, this is hilarious. This is probably the funniest part of the film when you see those three huts fight each other. It's fucking funny when you see the huts fight. They're just these big slugs. They just roll around. It's like slug wrestling. It's fucking hilarious. But you do see a hut fight in this film at the end, and yeah, I'll pretty much leave it at that. And I don't want to explain how exactly it ends or anything. But yeah, Brendan, you want to? It's a pretty bland storyline. Anything you want to speak on about the story that perhaps I didn't?
No, it's just like I said, it's going to the well again with the Mandalorian being a bounty hunter, then the other character Embo being another bounty hunter. So it's very similar themes to the first three seasons of Mandalorian and Grogu and Book of Boba Fett. So I don't think it adds much to the universe. And what I've just read just then was that they're sort of testing John Favreau, the creator of Mandalorian. He sort of has like creative license for it now, and I think this film was meant to be like a bit of a tester to see if Mandalorian Grogu would become like the franchise of the new Star Wars direction, which I think it'll be a bit like Solo, that they were planning a second movie for Solo, but that got canned because it didn't perform well in the box
Mm.
office. So yeah, I
It
don't.
cost them a shitload as well to make that solo movie. They went through three different directors. I did my reading on the history of that. They paid over 300 million, and yeah, they lost money on that solo movie.
Yeah. And what would you rate it out of 10, mate?
Look, I'm going to say it was slightly above average in my opinion. The best I would give it is a six. Um, I was entertained enough. Um, I like to see the huts again. I reckon they're hilarious, big slug looking things. It was good to see them again. Haven't seen them since the Return of the Jedi. Um, yeah, so I was entertained. Would I make an effort to see it again? Probably not. If it comes across free to air television, would I watch it? Maybe if there was nothing else good on. Would I go and buy a 4K copy movie of this movie? Probably not. No, but what would you give it out of 10, Brendan, mate, if you had to rate it?
Yeah, probably about a 5 out of 10. Like I said, I don't think it adds much to the universe. It probably would have been good if it was just a 8-part TV series, 20 odd minute episodes or whatever, like the other seasons have been, and I would have been happy enough to watch it. I would have downloaded it and watched it. But yeah, and like I won't go back and rewatch the other seasons of Mandalorian and Grogu. They were good watching the first time. And like with this film, I doubt I'll might watch it again once down the track, but I doubt I'll go back to it. It wasn't that memorable. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, mate. So what we'll do is we'll talk about currently how the Mandalorian and Grogu movies doing in the box office. So it had a budget of 165 million. So they've learned their lesson from the Solo movie. Don't spend 300 mil on a movie when you don't know if it's going to do well or not. But they spent 165 mil, and it's currently grossed a bit over 300 million in the box office. So it's underperformed because this movie's been heavily promoted around the world. So they really needed this movie to clear at least 450 million in the box office to make a genuine profit. So it looks like this will be another movie after Solo where they don't really make a profit from this movie in the box office. So that's kind of two failures in a row for Disney, Brendan, because they were on a hot roll for a while, but their last few movies haven't done so well. And the Rotten Tomatoes, have you heard of them? They review movies and TV series.
Yeah.
They've currently got Mandalorian and Grogu 62%. So look, Rotten Tomatoes, when they love a movie, they will give a freaking good rating and a good review. But if a movie's average, they usually shit can it. But look, 62% for Rotten Tomatoes, so they're saying it's above average, but not a great film. Yeah, so Brendan, I've just got some interesting dot points here, mate, to do with the earlier Star Wars films, mate. So I'll probably got some information here that you probably don't know about, but I've just got here all the previous Star Wars films compared from budget and what they made in the box office, and also I've got their Rotten Tomato reviews. So what I'll do is, mate, I'll read all these out. So we'll start with Star Wars: A New Hope, which was released back in 1977. It had a budget of $11 million, and in the box office, it did $775 million. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a rating of 94%. So that movie's legendary. Now, then you got The Empire Strikes Back after that, which was released in 1980. And it cost $30 million to make that movie, and it grossed $550 million in the box office. Rotten Tomatoes also loved that, gave it 93%. And then you got Return of the Jedi, which is the first Star Wars movie I ever saw, filmed in 1983, released then, and had a budget of $43 million, and it did $482 million in the box office. And Rotten Tomatoes gave that one 83%. So I really like Return of the Jedi, but yeah, they gave a good review. Rotten Tomatoes was not as good as the other two. And then we get to the next trilogy that George Lucas made. So Phantom Menace, filmed in 1999, which has Darth Maul. He's probably my favorite Sith character. I was a big fan of Darth Maul. That movie had a budget of 114 million, and it did over $1 billion in the box office. So romped in. And Rotten Tomatoes didn't give it a good review. They gave it 54%. So they didn't really like that movie. I like that movie. Wasn't really a fan of Jar Jar Binks. He was annoying. Maybe that's why I got 54%. But Attack of the Clones, mate, after that. So that was released 2002. Had a budget of 115 million, and it did 654 million in the box office. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a bit of a better review, gave that 62%. So they like that a bit more than Phantom Menace. And then we've got here Revenge of the Sith, which was filmed 2005, had a budget of $113 million, and it did 906 million in the box office. And Rotten Tomatoes gave that 79%. And now we get into the big one, Brendan, The Force Awakens, which was released 2015. So this was like the first Disney Star Wars film. Had a budget. This is the most expensive movie I've ever seen. Had a budget of $639 million. That's how much it cost to make it. And in the box office, it did over $2 billion in the box office. And Rotten Tomatoes loved it, gave it 93%. Star Wars Rogue One, which is the one you like, that was filmed 2016, had a budget of 280 million, and it grossed over $1 billion in the cinemas. So Rotten Tomatoes, yeah, they liked it, gave it 84%. And then we get to Star Wars The Last Jedi, which was filmed, it was released 2017. This one had a budget of 415 million. That's how much it cost to make it, and it did over $1 billion. Did 1.3 billion in the box office. Rotten Tomatoes liked it, 91% they gave it. Then we get to the Solo Star Wars film. Interesting film. Went through 3 directors with this film. Had a budget of $366 million, and it did 393 million in the box office. So you include all the money they spent to promote this film, they made a loss on it. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a pretty average review of 69%. Star Wars: The Rise of the Skywalker, which was released 2019, had a budget of 594 million to make it, and it did over $1 billion in the box office. Rotten Tomatoes reckons it was a pretty average film, gave it 51%. So yeah, mate, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, these Star Wars films. The ones that involved the Jedi's did particularly well. And then the side ones, Rogue One did well, but the other ones not so well. Yeah, you surprised by anything there, mate?
No, that's interesting stuff, mate.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a big of I like looking into how much movies cost and the profits they make and things like that. So, all
Yeah.
right, Brendan, thanks for this pod, mate. We've just reviewed The Mandalorian Grogu, and I hope you guys enjoy this pod episode. Cheers.